It is Decision Week on 94 WIP. Today's question that we're all answering, should Nick Sirianni be on the hot seat? Not is he on, we don't really know if he is, but should he be on the hot seat? I think he should. And I actually don't even think it's an indictment of Nick, the head coach. I think it is sort of an indictment of the entire situation. Here's why he should be on the hot seat. I want my head coach to provide stability. If he is going to be stable in his job, he has to provide stability. So I need to know what Nick Sirianni is doing for the Philadelphia Eagles to create stability. He does not call the offense. He doesn't call the defense. So in Seattle, I know there's some stability because McDonald is calling the defense. I feel like that is covered. There's stability there. In Los Angeles and San Francisco, I know those head coaches are calling the offense. I know no matter what flux is there, there's some stability there. Okay, so he's not calling offense or defense. He's the CEO head coach. Well, what does the CEO do? That can work. They run the organization. They hire everyone. But nobody here thinks that Nick Sirianni hired Vic Fangio. Nobody thinks he hired Kellen Moore. Nobody really thinks he hired Sean Mannion. So he's not providing stability there. So Nick Sirianni's job is really just going to be on the line every time they're not good, because that is a function of what his job is here. He is not the one who can fix anything. I think he is a good coach. I think he has had a lot of success here. But when I ask what his skill is that you would have trouble replacing, what is he doing to lift the team up to make them better, it's a very hard question to answer. So I think Nick Sirianni should be on the hot seat because he does not provide stability, so his job is not stable.
So I would say this to that. The stability that he provides is the fact that he's consistent and he's here. And here's the thing that comes along with that, right? Nick Sirianni has a sort of role as head coach here that doesn't necessarily fit the same criteria that a lot of head coaches have around the league. Some head coaches have sort of this outline for what they do as a head coach without being the play caller, without having now he specializes in offense. He was a wide receiver coach and an offensive coordinator prior to being the head coach here. So he does have an offensive specialty that he can provide. And here's the thing, when adversity has arisen in some of these seasons, Nick Sirianni has been the stabilizing force. Not only that, but he's been a resource for solution to turn seasons around, right? He's been here, 6 years, 5 years? 6 years.
6 years.
He's been here 6 years. 21, they turned the season around there when he was amenable to giving up the play calling, right? First-year head coach, you just brought him in. He could have bucked that, and it could have been an issue there, and maybe they fire him after the first year. Who knows? But he was selfless enough that Shane Steichen took over. That turned that team around. They found their way into the playoffs. The next year, they go to the Super Bowl. 2023, listen, things didn't go well. He couldn't necessarily find the solution to fix everything. I don't think he was necessarily completely to blame about that. The defense, the defensive personnel, the defensive coaches, particularly the coordinators on that side, contributed to a lot of what didn't go well in 2023. But he was able to withstand all of that. The firestorm that was around him after the 2023 season and get this team to the Super Bowl the following year. We know about the trials and tribulations that season had, that Nick Sirianni, although he may not have the foresight to fix the problems, when presented with solutions and things that could turn things around, he was certainly open and flexible to doing those things. Not only that, he is the guy who's the front man to all of this. You may have smarter guys working behind the scenes in coordinator positions, other positions, but they don't necessarily have the ability to stand in front of this media week in and week out in the face of storms and not flinch. He's not throwing players under the bus. He's not throwing the front office under the bus. He doesn't necessarily seem to crack. Doesn't always have the right answers. But, I mean, I've seen a lot worse from head coaches that have been here. And so moving forward, when you have basically stripped him of all or a lot of his personnel coaching staff that he's brought in. And now he has to be flexible again with someone else's offense. How many head coaches are willing to do that and handle that? So, again, I'm not going to sit here and make the argument that he's the best coach in the NFL and you'd be foolish for moving on from him. That's not the argument I'm making. The question is, should he be on the hot seat? His resume says no. Without question, he should not be on the hot seat. This is what you've asked him to do again. Bring in someone else, allow them to take over from an offensive standpoint in their system, and your future and reputation hinges on that. Because he's going to get the blame if Sean Mannion doesn't succeed, right? If we're putting him on a hot seat, that means he's getting the blame if things don't go well.
But it's just sort of like a function of, because he's not doing the things that would keep him off the hot seat. 215-592-9494. It's Decision Week on 94 WIP. Should Nick Sirianni be on the hot seat? And I want to be careful here because I do think he's done a good job, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think he's a bad head coach at all. I think he's a good head coach. But you mentioned sort of like him pulling them back from the brink. When there's chaos, he's a stabilizing force. Mm-hmm. He's also been the source of chaos at certain times. Mm-hmm. There was the yelling at the fans in Kansas City. There was the yelling at the fans after the Cleveland game. There was the yelling at the fans in Buffalo. It was like, for a stable guy, he doesn't seem that stable. No, listen, to be honest with you.
Wears his emotions on his sleeves.
Yep.
I'm not completely against that. We're a passionate city. I'm a passionate fan, former player. So I can't knock someone for outwardly displaying their emotions. And you got to have a better control of them. I totally agree with that. You're the head coach. You got to be in better control. I don't need the AJ get off the field thing. Even if you were irritated with AJ dropping passes.
Right.
I don't need you throwing fuel on something, creating another firestorm. That's not what I need from my head coach.
There's Jalen Carter one too.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, listen, and so there are instances that are there. But here's what I'll say. I'll take those because of all the other good things he brings to the table. All the other good things that he provides as a head coach. There's something about being able to be the face of a franchise, having to stand out there and answer all the tough questions when things aren't going well, and take all the slings and arrows while protecting everyone else. For me, along with the winning that he's done, that has earned him the right to not be on a hot seat.
Fair enough.
If anybody's on a hot seat, I'm going to be honest with you, and he ain't getting fired. It's Howie.
It's a different show, and I totally...
I'm just saying, they made all
sure.
these changes to the offensive staff and everything else. This is a Nick decision to do all this stuff. So it really should be on him and them if that doesn't work. Because that's not Nick's choice to do.
If you want a head coach with no power, it's hard to fire him for the decisions he didn't make.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a fair point.
So everybody talking about him being on a hot seat is saying that based on the team's success moving forward. Well, if this thing doesn't work moving forward, if AJ is still here and it doesn't work, that's the front office. If the offense isn't better than it has been, meaning that the players aren't performing, and we're questioning the offensive system, that's the front office. That's not Nick. But you know who's going to be out there?
It's going to be
answering
Nick.
for it?
Yeah, it'll be
It's going to be Nick.
215-592-9494. Should Nick Sirianni be on the hot seat?